Hey, I'm going to bring in Rudy. Rudy, good afternoon.
Hello, Annie, and hello, Miki. Glad to be with you guys.
It is our pleasure. It is our pleasure. I don't even know where to begin with the two of you because there is so much that has been going on lately. But right now, Miki, you've got something going on in D.C. on the 19th, right?
Yes, that's correct. On the 18th and 19th, there's two different events, different and yet connected. On the 18th, we have a team of members of Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com that we are taking sheriff's kits. That is, Sheriff Joe Arpaio's cold case posse investigation. Detective Mike Zullo has a 71-page affidavit of forgery that has all of the different points of the fraud that is connected to both the birth certificate posted on the WhiteHouse.gov website on April 27th of 2011, and also his selective service card that was obtained through FOIA request, and the sheriff's detectives determined that was a forgery too. So what we're doing is taking the videos of the press conference, Sheriff Arpaio's press conference announcing the forgeries, and Detective Mike Zullo demonstrating how the forgeries were committed. And so with these DVDs and with the proof of forgery, we're going to Capitol Hill, and we're going to our representatives' offices and getting it into their hands in person, giving them a demonstration. We have quite a few appointments already set up, each one about 15 minutes of time, and so during that time we're going to give them all of this evidence. And we're going to be doing something that has not been done before. You know, when critical information is sent to our so-called representatives, there's nothing done about that. And, you know, for all we know, it's gone into the trash. But we're going to document everything, you know, that was said, and we're going to follow up to find out what they're going to do with this. Because what we're trying to do is to help Representative Steve Stockman of Texas, who is calling for a congressional investigation of Obama's forgeries and frauds. And he's all by himself. Nobody will, you know, step up and say, yes, there's, you know, just too much wrong here, and we need to investigate this. This man is a usurper. He's getting away with all of this. He's ruling by executive fiat. He's a tyrant. And he shouldn't be getting away with this because the very, very foundation of his pathological lying are his identification documents. So I've gone on, but that's what's going to happen on the 18th. And then on the 19th is the Reclaim America Now event. It's Larry Klayman who has called for all Americans to converge on D.C. It's going to be across the street from the White House at the Lafayette Park, and he's calling for millions of Americans all across this nation to have a rally, have a camp-in or a sleep-in or whatever, and just get the masses to respond and rise up now to say indefinitely, you know, that we've had it and we want Obama to resign. And anyway, there's a great lineup. There's a lot of people participating, great speakers. Gabrielle, the woman who speaks out against Islam, is going to be there, and a number of leaders of Tea parties are going to be there. They have should have had the list of speakers because it's still growing every day. So anyway, that's what's happening on the 19th.
All right. Well, I put up in the chat room the link to reclaimamerica.now.net and where'sthebirthcertificate.org. I made the mistake before, like you just did, .com, and that takes you over to Jerome Kersey's book, Where's the Birth Certificate? So I don't want the two of them to get mixed up. So it's where'sthebirthcertificate.org and reclaimamerica.now.net. But they can also go through your website, MikiBooth.com, right?
Yes, that's correct. And it's where's Obama's birth certificate.com is the Mike Valin, who has that website, and he is leading this effort on Monday to deliver the sheriff's kits. So it's where'sobama'sbirthcertificate.com, and he's the one that invented or came up with a little stamp about the size of a postage stamp, but it's actually like a rubber stamp with red ink that says where'sobama'sbirthcertificate.com, and it's been showing up on money across the nation. There's you can buy the little stamp from where'sobama'sbirthcertificate.com and just stamp it everywhere. And I'm actually beginning to see some in my area. So anyway, when you see that, that's where it's come from.
All right. I do seem to remember that stamp getting him in trouble at one point. I think that was back in 2010 with an IRS audit, or am I thinking of someone else?
I'm not sure because I'm not aware of that. But anyway, he's still selling the stamps, and there's people still out there stamping them.
Now, Rudy, you were just a guy working down in Texas, and then all of a sudden you ended up in the crosshairs of our dear sweet government, even being handcuffed and detained outside of a theater in Dallas, passing out literature about Lieutenant Colonel Terry Latkin. You are one crazy dude.
Well, yes. Let me quickly say, Annie, that I first met Mickey Booth in May of 2010 at the Pastor James David Manning Obama CIA and Columbia and sedition and treason trial, and I got to say that. Mickey, you are a huge encouragement to many people around the country, including myself. And I just want to say, that every time I see Mickey on any radio show or blog radio or YouTube video, whatever the case, she is such an encouragement. Her example that she has set for this issue, the ineligibility of this usurper, has just been incredible. And Annie, let me say that this issue, I believe, is absolutely the most important issue going on in our country. I'm a Bible-believing Christian, Annie, and I believe that God's not going to let us get past this issue. I believe that Obama is going to continue to punk America just over and over and over again, and just continue to work. It's like people are making a living, right, off of fighting all of these bad branches on this bad tree, and the root of this tree is that he is a usurper. He should have never been allowed to hold that office, and we ain't going to ever make any headway until we address this issue head on, Annie. That's my strong belief. There's a quote by a lady by the name of Ann Barnhart, and she couldn't have said it any better, but what she said is that just because a criminal breaks into your house and stays there for over 5 years does not mean that you let him stay, right? And we've got to face this issue head on. He's ineligible in so many different ways. First of all, he's ineligible from a natural-born citizenship perspective, and that's been covered in great detail on Commander Kirshner's website, protectourliberty.org. And then also he's ineligible by putting out a forged birth certificate, and that's a felonious forging fraud. That's a treasonous activity to put out a felonious birth certificate like that to the American people. So, I get a little excited, Annie, but you're right. I was handcuffed and detained for passing out flyers for Lieutenant Colonel Terry Latkin. The IRS has sent me a bill for $25,000. Immigration's Customs Enforcement has called the HR department of my work and said that unless I produce a birth certificate, that my HR department would be forced to fire me because of a random citizenship audit that just happened to pick me out after 15 years, which obviously they were trying to send me a message. But, I take my inspiration from people like Pastor James David Manning, Mickey Booth, Orly Tates, Lieutenant Colonel Terry Latkin, and I ain't backing down. This issue absolutely has to be dealt with, and I could go on and on and on, but let me just say that I'm going to cling on to my guns and religion, and I'm going to keep clinging to my guns and religion, and I'm going to, wait for this national civilian defense force that's just as big, just as well-funded, just as powerful as the military, so that when the political winds shift, our usurper president can side with the Muslims, just like he said in his book, Dreams from My Father. So I get a little excited, Annie, but I'm just saying, I believe this issue is incredibly important, and we've got to bring it to the forefront, and we cannot continue to ignore it. I don't think we should follow our heroes, but we need to follow the truth. And there are some good people doing some good things. I could name several names, and I could step on some toes. Ron Paul, Glenn Beck, others, right? Bill O'Reilly, people may have them as their heroes, but unless we are willing to follow the truth, we got to be willing to follow the truth no matter whose toes we step on. I don't think we're going to make any headway. So, like I said, I get a little excited, but I'm very passionate about this issue, as I know Miki is, and God bless Miki Booth for everything she's doing and continuing to do, and I support her in every way that I can, including my prayers.
Oh,
and don't worry
about
down. I'm just saying this is a very important issue, Annie.
Don't worry about stepping on toes on this show. So
okay,
step on them and step on them hard.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. We got to take our country back, and these people that don't want to address this issue, thank God for the good that they're doing. But this issue, we got to put it front and center. And Bill O'Reilly's newspaper advertisements don't mean nothing, right? Can you go to your work, or can you go to your government agency, or can you get a driver's license, or whatever the case may be, by showing newspaper advertisements? Bill O'Reilly wants to brag about newspaper advertisements. That's the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life.
That it is. Now, when you go to the Where's Obama's Birth Certificate.com, all the documentation's up there, and you have little videos showing exactly what made you realize that each document was forged. And unfortunately, I had a hard time pulling it up on my computer. I kept on getting all the wrong websites. I'm going to try it again to see if I can. I put the link up in the chat room also. But, Rudy, you want to tell us about Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin and why this man lost his, was dishonorably discharged. He lost his pension and everything. He put his entire life on the line because of what he believed in. And he made the challenge just like you and Miki are doing.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you're absolutely right. Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin was a Army veteran, active military, been to active combat multiple times. He's in an interracial marriage. He had an impeccable service record, Andy, just impeccable. He for 2 years, for 2 solid years, he tried to go through his chain of command through the proper channels by filling out the proper military forms to ensure that Obama was eligible. And he was very concerned about the evidence that he was seeing about, at the time, Obama wasn't releasing his birth certificate. At the time, he was hiding it, right? And so Terry Lakin had very strong concerns about this, and for 2 solid years, he tried to go through the normal chain of commands. They stonewalled him and stonewalled him and stonewalled him, and the evidence just kept mounting and mounting that there's something terribly wrong. I mean, with his ability to identify himself as eligible for President of the United States. And so Terry Lakin came out with a video on YouTube, and he basically invited his own court-martial. At the time, he thought he would be able to bring evidence about Obama as part of his defense. Well, I went to the trial along with Pastor James David Manning, Orly Tates was there, Commander Kirshner, as well as many others. And they absolutely kangaroo courted him in that courtroom. They did not let him produce any evidence whatsoever about Obama's ineligibility. That was ruled off limits. It was told that he couldn't produce, he was not able to talk about that or to discuss that in any way. A matter of fact, they played a video of him making his YouTube video that announced why he did what he did, right? Because they charged him with failure to follow orders, I believe. I don't know the exact charge off the top of my head, Annie, but it was something like failure to follow orders. Well, when they played that video in the courtroom, that was one of the rare moments where they could not contain the people in that courtroom, because everybody, when he said that Obama was not eligible to hold that office, they tried to squash us and oppress us, but when he said that and they played that video, the courtroom erupted with applause. You could just sense, that this is what this is all about, even though they're kangaroo courting and not letting him produce any evidence. But I remember them interviewing jury members, and I remember there was a lady, and they brought her in, and they asked her if she had heard about Terry Lakin and what he had done, and her response was yes, she had heard about it. And they said, what did you think about it? And she kind of straightened up in her chair, and she looked at the person interviewing her, and she says, well, I follow orders, right? And I have a dad that's a Marine. I was in the Marines, and I have a brother that was in the Marines, so I understand how important it is to follow orders. I understand the significance of having that mentality when you're in the military. But there is something more important than just blindly following orders from a fraudulent, ineligible president who has usurped that office. There's a higher standard that we need everybody to hold themselves to, including our military. They took an oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that oath was to the Constitution. That oath was not to the President of the United States or the so-called President who does not meet the eligibility requirements. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make, Annie, is that, he stood up, he got kangaroo courted. They sent him off to Fort Leavenworth prison. They sentenced him to prison for 6 months. He has a book now out, and I'm not in the business of selling books. I'm in the business of talking about the truth, and I want justice more than anything. But Terry Lakin does have a book out called Officer's Oath. And he also has a website where you can read about his story, and he has a tremendous amount of, just documentation that he's collected. It's called TerryLakin.com, and he's a friend of mine, and I support him in every way, and I think he's a brave example and a brave hero of America, and he has absolutely did everything he can and continues to do to put this issue front and center, just as Mickey's doing and others. And I thank you for having us on your show. I just believe we have to deal with this issue. We cannot ignore it any longer. He's going to continue to punk America and rack up victory after victory after victory until we deal with this issue. He's not eligible to hold that office. He never was eligible, and people are trying to brush it under the rug, and it's not going to go under the rug, Annie. We just got to keep talking about it, and no matter what, come hell or high water, and there's certain portions of the conservative party that don't want to deal with it. But gosh darn, we got to deal with it. It's just you can't ignore it forever. And that birth certificate is a forgery. I've called it his Achilles heel. And there are some of us that will not shut up, and we're just going to keep talking about it as long as people will listen.
Well, we've had Orly Tates on. We've had Jerome Kersey on. We've had several people on talking about
and
this
Barnhart
issue. So we're
Ann Barnhart. Yeah, God bless her.
Yeah. And Mickey's been on before. Mickey, you were just this past August, you were with us. Matter of fact, I want to thank you. I do have your book. I didn't get a chance to call to tell you I got it, even though I spoke to you only last night. But it's when I read your book, which you can get at MickeyBooth.com, I actually hear your voice. It's not as if someone else sat down and wrote it for you. Because knowing you like I do, I just felt as if you were sitting right next to me talking to me when you read the book. And it's really fascinating. I'm about halfway through it because every time I try to read it, my husband sits down and starts chatting to me. So you know how husbands can get. And by the way, happy anniversary to you, too. 33 years. God bless. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Rudy. Thank you very so much for your kind words, Rudy. I just think you're fantastic, and I can't say enough of all the good things that you do, and how much I love you and your wife Erin and our family at the Outlaw Church. You're all so dear to me. I'm speechless, really, and I'm glad you got the book, Annie. And they're on the Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you look up the book, just look it up under my name, Miki Booth, MikiBooth.com, and pull up that book. It's called Memoirs of a Community Organizer from Hawaii. And if you look at the reviews on there, there's half and half excellent reviews, and then the other are as bad as you can get. And what it is these Obama operatives are assigned to people like me, like Rudy, like Jerome Kersey, like Detective Mike Zullo, like Pastor Carl Gallup, Pastor Manning. They're assigned to us to go and just create havoc with everything that we do. They'll lie. They've got websites where they go to. One bad one is Fogbo, but we haven't seen too much of that guy lately. He is one of the operatives, that has been very active and vocal against us so-called, birthers and and people that challenge anything about Obama's past. So I've had a number of things done to me. We've had death threats. We've had, you hear about Rudy. Every single department in the federal government has come after him because this is what they do. So this person from Fogbo, we haven't heard much from him lately because he's been rewarded for all the chaos that he's perpetrated against constitutionalists because he got a job as a navigator for Obama. How about that?
Yeah, no, we've had Pastor Manning on also, but you both mentioned earlier the trial at Pastor Manning's church that he organized, that the two of you were on, and that was back in 2010, I believe, that
That's
they
right.
had the
Yes,
trial.
ma'am.
Right, and the
Yes, ma'am. May of
trial.
10.
Yeah, but it was, I believe it was a unanimous verdict. Let's see, let's go with Miki first. Why don't you tell us, what that was all about?
Sure. We have compiled a number of documents, evidence, and that Obama did not go to Colombia. And instead, the years that he was supposed to have been there, he was actually doing stuff for Zbigniew Brzezinski. He was Carter's former director of national security, and
he was from Russia. I remember that guy.
Yes, and he teaches communism at Columbia, or he did, and now he's at a college that is real close to the White House. So that man still has, very close ties to Obama, and he is instrumental in covering up, all of Obama's background, creating a narrative for him that he got a degree from Columbia, just padded his resume. And Zbigniew Brzezinski got him his first job at Business Corps International, which is a CIA front, and that was Barry's first job. So everything has been manufactured, and Zbigniew Brzezinski, in my opinion, is the top of that pyramid that is, top down through Brennan, people like Brennan, Panetta, CIA, FBI is kind of like the redheaded stepchild, but they know all of this. So Obama's narrative was that, he was born in Hawaii, all of this, and they just, whatever they put out there as the narrative, they make up the paperwork in the form, of forgeries and frauds to back up that narrative. So the Columbia trial, during the time he was supposed to be there, he was actually working under the auspices of Zbigniew Brzezinski, or you can say, CIA. And the trips that he made to Pakistan, he was actually running guns and funding the Mujahideen and the Taliban to push back the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. So that's what he was doing, and he was mentored by both Frank Marshall Davis, the communist child molester, and then by Zbigniew Brzezinski. So all of the and I don't know how many people are aware now of what is he in Las Vegas, classmate of Obama at Columbia, and he has come out and says, yes, Wayne Allen Root is saying now, is coming out and saying it, how Obama was never there and it should have been and all that. Well, we brought that up, or Pastor Manning did, in the trial, that he didn't attend Columbia, and to even, tell the story in a straighter sense, he used as Pastor Manning did as evidence the 1 hour special program of Obama that was Bill Hemmer narrated it, and they talked about his background, and when they got to his background, that he attended a Muslim school. He also attended a Catholic school, but he talked about the school document that had his name as Barry Soetoro, student, and his religion as Islam. And his name was Barry Soetoro, which he never changed his name. And when he went to Punahou, he was always Barry Soetoro, foreign student. So these are the things that were covered up and quashed. And even to this day, people are being paid off in the media not to talk about these things. back to the CIA trial. So now we've got Wayne Allen Root and Bill Hemmer saying that of 400 people interviewed, the classmates and people at the school during the time Obama was supposed to have been there, nobody ever saw him or remembered him being there or knew who that was. So this was all brought up in the trial, and so now so many things that we were able to prove, and I was there. I testified by showing the real birth certificates and showing how Obama's is a fake. So I testified there too, and all of these things we've known since and proved it at the trial, and only now things are starting to ramp up, and that information is starting to get out there, and people are starting to talk about it. Only now, but we've barely broke the surface. That's why we have to keep hammering hard, especially now while he's down, and he has proven himself to be a pathological liar. And so all these people the conservatives were right. This was a Ponzi scheme, the health care bill and all that. And so they know what he's capable of, and yet they still believe he was born in Kapiolani because he said so.
Yeah. Now, Rudy, you were mentioning that you believe with your religion, you're deeply Christian, that God's not going to let us, just shove this underneath the rug. And you mentioned Pastor Manning, who also has been a previous guest on our show. Geez, Mike, who have we not had on the show? We've had, I think, just about all of them.
Well, I don't know if you want to consider Michelle Bachmann, because after a few minutes she slammed the phone in Amy's ear, but maybe her.
No, I'm not going to go back and listen to that episode. That sounds like an interesting episode.
Well, and that's the thing is that what you talked about, these pathological liars are sociopaths, and when you call them out on it, Michelle Bachmann being one of them, I mean, Miss Tea Party, of course, and her bullshit, but I mean, when you call these people out on, instead of really standing up and saying, this is my stand, whether you like it or you don't like it, this is my stand, they go into these lying, excuse-making tangents without even really answering the question. Well, of course, she hung up on Annie, and we've had that done before. But this is the thing: is how dare you challenge these pathological liars? They should be addressed as his or her honor, or whatever these bullcrap titles are. Our governor of Michigan, he made a comment the other day. He said, "The people are our customers. We're the store owners. They're our customers." And I thought, when the hell did this change from being a public servant? But that's exactly it. You need to call them out on it, and we need to be more aggressive. Because as you see, when you challenge them and don't let them off the hook, I mean, many of them, especially the men, they wet themselves like a little girl. They get frightened.
They simply, you're absolutely right. And is it Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
You're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, when they are confronted with the truth, they have nowhere to go. But absolutely wet themselves. And a perfect example of that is when Mickey Booth presented the 207-page affidavit from the cold case posse, Mike Zullo, Sheriff Arpaio, to Mark Wayne Mullen. He practically, just wet himself on stage that he couldn't handle it. He could not handle the truth that Mickey was delivering him, and he went so far as to go off and badmouth street preachers. Now, I pray that God would give me some of the courage that I've seen in some of these street preachers standing on the corners of New York City or California, because in my opinion, the reason California and New York just doesn't fall off into the ocean is because there's probably one or two good street preachers keeping it from happening. But the reason I say that is Mark Wayne Mullen simply could not handle the truth that Mickey was delivering him, and he did not want any part of it. And, just to go back to what Mickey was saying, because it was so powerful, I mean, it's a powerful, powerful thing that she just said, is that Obama never went to Columbia University. There was over 400 students that Bill Hemmer interviewed in a Fox News piece that he put together that they've tried to squash all over the internet, although I have a copy of it, and I'm sure there are those that will not let it go, that says he interviewed over 400 students. Not one person in Obama's graduating class remembers him going to that school. Wayne Allen Root doesn't remember him going to that school. Everybody that Wayne Allen Root talks to doesn't remember him going to that school. Not only that, but there's a professor that was there for 46 years by the name of Henry Graff. If you'll look him up, I think it's Graffs. he's there for 46 years, and he said he would have remembered him going to that school, and he doesn't remember him there. So that's just another example of, like you said, Mike, these pathological liars. When you present them with facts, they simply cannot deal with the reality, and they basically just wet themselves and come up with all excuses to avoid the truth. And we've got to continue to talk about this issue, but thank God there are those that will not let it go. And but I'll just say that trial, all of the transcripts from that trial in May of 2010 is on the internet, and Pastor James David Manning did a wonderful job of conducting it. And every transcript of every word ever stated was recorded. And if you search on the internet, Obama, CIA, Colombian sedition trial transcripts, all of that has been recorded. And I truly believe that justice will come. And it's going to be a day of reckoning for these people that have tried to cover up on this issue. And there have been some people that have held the line all the way through, and thank God for those people that have done that. And I pray for I pray for them every day. Like, keep them encouraged, Lord, and let them stand steadfast, and don't let these bastards on the evil side continue to work away at them, because justice will come, and this guy is a usurper. And let me say this real quickly. Sheriff Opayer is a 50-year serviceman, the toughest sheriff in America. He doesn't have any reason to do what he's doing, except that it's the truth, right? When did we move from a society that distrusts a 50-year serviceman like Sheriff Arpaio and the record that he has laid down for this country versus some community organizer who's been lying about his past ever since day one? It's absolutely been proven upside down, left and right, backwards and forwards by the cold case posse that birth certificate is a bad forgery. It's absolutely a bad forgery. And he's commander-in-chief, Mike and Annie. He's commander-in-chief of our people in the military, our sons and daughters, our men and women that are serving this country. And we have a duty. I just want to scream and holler, don't you guys understand that our commander-in-chief doesn't have America's best interest at heart? Who knows what his past is? We know he's not a natural-born citizen. We know he's not eligible to be president. And how can we let our sons and daughters be commanded by this devil? And if we don't say something, and if we're worried about it's going to make us unpopular, somebody's going to call us a racist, they might send the IRS after us. I don't care. Let them do whatever they're going to do. There are a few of us that got really loud mouths, and we ain't going to shut up. And this man has to go down. He's not eligible to hold commander-in-chief. He's not eligible to be president. His birth certificate's a proven forgery, proven beyond any shadow of a doubt, and he's not natural born on top of that. I'm sorry, guys. I get going, and it might be hard to shut me up for another 30 minutes.
Right on, Rudy.
No, I'm sorry because you two guys are just fantastic. And there's an article up in WorldNet Daily about what happened to you, Rudy, where you got visited not once, not twice, but 3 times by federal agents asking you all different types of crazy questions. Ever since you started in with getting involved with Terry Larkin, Pastor Manning, Miki Booth. Miki, you're a bad influence.
No, she's a great influence. I love Miki. I tell you, I'm glad we're having Miki on our team.
I don't know what's it coming to, Annie? A couple of hellraisers like these two on our show, man. Oh, look out. Well,
we might just break open the Bible and start reading some scripture, some hell-raising thing like that.
Well, that's the thing, is they try to intimidate you with their might, but there is nothing more might, there is no greater might or nothing more mightier than we the people. Amen. Keep in mind, a third of the people wanted to remain with the king in 1776. A third of the people didn't even care. It was we, the other one-third, that are going to kick a little booty and get things changed around here.
That's right. Hey, Mike, you're absolutely right. Let me quickly say this. I read a biography by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he said that there was a parade of Hitler walking down the street, and Dietrich Bonhoeffer had to make a decision, like whether he was going to do the Heil Hitler salute, because all the Gestapo was looking around and seeing who wasn't going to do it so they could take him off. And in that book, I got a lot of respect for Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Don't get me wrong. I know they hung him just before the war ended, but I'm saying he did do the salute. He admitted in the biography. So, Mike, what I'm saying is, when we get up to that starfire up in the sky, and we're talking about our experiences back on Earth, and somebody asks me, "Hey, Rudy, what'd it feel like to through the Heil Hitler sign. I'm going to say, I don't know. I never did it. I ain't never going to do it. It ain't never going to happen. I'm not giving in to these guys, and they can do whatever threat they want. They can threaten my family, my stuff, and I know there are a few of those like that. But it's like what did it feel like to do something like that? I don't know. Don't ask me, because I ain't never going to do that. It's like there are some of us that we're going to follow the truth. And we're going to follow the truth no matter what. And this guy is a usurper, needs to be taken out. And I believe that is our number one issue in America. So,
yeah, that I completely agree. Because now, yesterday he went on TV about this Obamacare, the fix he supposedly has on it, but he's not constitutionally able to alter a law like that. He has no power to do that. So now, the Republicans in Congress, just before we came on air, passed their bill, which they're going to send to the Senate. And of course, the Senate is going to all say, "All right, let's pass this bill." So it looks like we're going to do something. Once it hits his desk, he says he's not going to sign it, and then he's going to blame the evil Republicans in Congress again. And it's a big game to him, and he just plays it. And he says, "All right, let me pull them in a little bit by making them feel confident in me, and then I'm going to pull the rug right out from underneath them when they're sitting there least expecting it." And that's what he's doing to us.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Annie and Mickey and Mike, have you guys heard of an Islamic concept called taqiyya? T-A-Q-U-I?
We've talked about that on the show many times.
Yeah, and I believe that's what's going on. I believe that, see, a Christian, we're not supposed to lie. It's part of our 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And so even if I'm going against somebody evil, I don't think the Lord's like going to say, go ahead and lie about him and do everything you can to take him down. It's like, no, it's like you got to use the truth. You can't make up just lies. But in Islam, they got this concept called taqiyya. And I have read the Quran once, and I've read it, even more than once. But I'm just saying that there is a concept in there that says, if it furthers the cause of Islam, you can just lie and lie, and if it helps you beat the infidel, just lie all you want to. There's also a similar concept in communists. There's a book that Commander Kirshner recommended to me. I think it's called "You Can Still Trust a Communist to Be a Communist." And the true hardened communist of the world, if it furthers the cause of communism, it's like it's okay to lie. They got no problems with it. If their moral compass is completely broken, and so that's why it's like we look at him like he's been caught in a bold-faced lie about this Obamacare stuff. But for him, it's like, well, he was trying to further the cause of what he thought, was his communist agenda or his Islamic agenda. I believe he's both. But I'm just saying, for him, it's like no big deal. I lied. I was trying to do the right thing. But it's like, no, there's a big deal. America has always upheld higher standards than that. We don't let you get on television and just, we know, it's like you're just not supposed to bold-faced lie every time you open your mouth.
Yeah, now, this is something that was really interesting. This came over just 3 days ago from Jerome Kersey at World Net Daily. He writes about criminal terror charges filed against Obama. And I had to stop him going, oh, did someone here in the United States finally get some cojones? But no, it's prominent lawyers in Egypt because of Obama's support of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Mike can swear to this. I've been going after Obama because of this. I've been going after McCain and my own Senator Lindsey Graham about their support of the Muslim Brotherhood. And I have said time and time again, that's treason against us, against the American citizens, treason against the nation for the three of them. And I don't understand why we can't bring criminal charges, terrorism charges up on him on this. But the Egyptians are going after him through the International Criminal Court, the ICC, and they're alleging that he coordinated, incited, and assisted the armed elements of the Muslim Brotherhood in commission of crimes against humanity in the period from March 7th through 18th in Egypt. And remember, this is where he wanted to send arms to Morsi. He made that big deal about all the planes and tanks, and we were all screaming, why are you sending arms to the Muslim Brotherhood? And then Lindsey Graham and McCain go over to Egypt, chastising the generals that were now in charge of the government that kicked Morsi out, and telling them that they have to let the Muslim Brotherhood out of jail and they must negotiate and put them into government with them. It specifies that the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt persecuted the country's Christian minority. And finally, someone's defending the Christians over there, including the torching, destruction, and plundering of some 85 churches. And the regime also scapegoated the Coptic Christians for the support of the June 30th revolution. So finally, someone's filing criminal charges, and maybe the rest of the world will wake up and see what we see here. There can only hope.
The Egyptians they were an inspiration to many of us, in the grassroots. That's what it's going to take. You got to rise up. You got to have the numbers. But the Egyptian people, they don't want Sharia law and Islam. They're, a secular country. They have always lived, peacefully, with Christians. But ever since Morsi took over and with all of the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood, there are still Christians being killed today and churches being burned. It's going on, and we have very little news that comes out of Egypt. And as you can see, the story came from WorldNet Daily and Jerome Corsi, but none of the mainstream will talk about it. And so most of the people are not going to hear about it because they're, the alternative media, the WorldNet Dailies, the Western Center for Journalism, the Post and Email, it's just limited as to, the people that are getting their news from them and getting it from that lying, Fox that, they're part of the whole problem right here. They won't tell the truth, and they're being paid not to, and being partly owned by the Saudis, they're not about to. And there's, the sheeple just don't realize that. But at least Obama's world is imploding with this health care law, and I hope that, we're going to kick him while he's down, and people have got to start waking up and realize this man is a liar, and if he's lied about the health care scam, then what else has he lied about? So, Anyway, stay strong, you guys. We're just going to keep kicking Obama when he's down because he deserves it, and our country deserves it, and we just deserve it.
And in a lot of ways, history may end up repeating itself, although it's frustrating, and people like us have to swallow our tongues a lot and be patient. In many, many ways, if you see history, this is basically whatever you want to call it, whether they're the Kings, the Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group, whatever name you have for this, what you're seeing is once you get so powerful, you start imploding yourself. And this is exactly what's happening. It's beginning with the health care that slowly but surely, this is melting in a July heat storm, and pretty soon it's just going to come crashing down.
Amen. When it comes to justice for Obama, and I've heard the argument put forth, well, we can't really speak the truth about Obama's ineligibility because it's going to cause riots in the streets, and there's going to be all this mayhem. And my response back to that is the consequences of letting him stay in office and continuing to work on his agenda is much, much worse than just a little political upheaval that we may have for a few days because he gets brought to justice. And so we can't continue to kick this can down the road. And I'm in agreement with you, Mike, that history is repeating itself and that justice will come. And it's a matter of choose you this day whom you will serve. And I'm going to be on the side of truth. I'm going to be on the side of the folks who are trying to propagate righteousness and fairness and justice and just biblical. That this country was founded. There used to be a Bible in the courtroom, in the classroom. You could find it in the marketplace, and this country was founded on just biblical ideals about truth and justice. And they're trying to change it as best they can, but it's going to fail. And I just believe we can't let him off the hook because we're concerned there might be a few people that riot in the streets. Well, let them riot. There needs to be justice, above all justice, right? And we'll get over it, and we'll be even stronger for it. And we got to beat this. And I just believe that anything can happen, and history has shown that. And so I'm just going to stay on the side of truth, no matter what happens.
Well, my personal opinion, I think come January 1st, when everything really hits the fan, because we're not going to have a budget in time, we're not going to have this Obamacare fix, we're not going to have the website for people to join up for Obamacare fix. None of this will be done, I'm predicting, by January 1st. Come January 1st, the nation is going to wake up and really understand how much of a mess they're in, because suddenly the tax bills are going to be due. Suddenly they're going to find their pay less because of Obamacare being taken out of their paychecks. They're going to find their hours cut because a lot of people will not be able to afford the employee plus pay for their Obamacare. And I think we're going to find ourselves in a humongous mess come January 1st. And even at my own county council the last few months, I've been, up there telling them, please don't increase our taxes. Don't do it. They wanted to increase the millage rate across the board, which means they tax not only our homes. If you have a business, every single piece of equipment and stuff you have is taxed. The chair, the desk, the computers, the computer programs. I mean, everything is taxed at 100%. And these tax bills are just coming in here where I live now. And I had someone send me a screaming email asking where was our Buford Tea Party in this fight against the millage rate. And honestly, I shot back at her. She wrote to me, "Where's our local Tea Party outrage over the Beaufort County tax bills? I just received our tax bill and see that although the property assessed value has gone down, the taxes have gone up due to increased mill rates. I thought T stood for taxed enough already." Now, the woman's name sounded familiar, but I don't think she's ever been to any of our meetings. And I wrote back to her and I said, twice I stood before the county council fighting the millage increase. And they only gave us 30 days to fight and 2 meetings. I blasted emails. I wrote letters to the editor, which were published in the Gazette Island Packet. Members of the Bluffton Tea Party showed up at council chambers on Report Street and spoke out. Additional 7 members of our group stood forward and spoke out in outrage. I blasted email out to members on numerous occasions calling for help in this battle. I posted on our website. I spoke to anyone and everyone about the mill increase. We fought, we lost. We will continue to fight to have the millage rate decreased when the new budget comes up. This mill increases across the board, so every item that is taxed will increase. From the groceries you buy to the car boat registrations to your home property tax, the amount you pay will skyrocket. Every goods and services county-wide will increase. Now we add on the increases in taxes thanks to Obamacare. Cut and pay because of Obamacare. Threats of village mill tax rise in homeowners insurance, and so on. Why the county council voted for this mill increase baffles me. Who voted 5-4 for the increase? And I named each and every single member of the council and when the term ends. And then I said, now I ask you politely, what did you do? Are you willing to take the fight to them? Are you truly angry? Join us as we seek ways to fight this travesty. I got my tax bill increase, and I'm livid as the last time I stood before the county council and saw the smug looks on the faces of several of the members as they completely ignored our pleas. My increase is 50% on the home alone. I shudder to see my vehicles next year. For my 2001 Ford, the bill was higher than the book value in 2013. What will it be this July? And I said, join us and see what we're looking to do. You might be pleasantly surprised. You get people screaming about the bad stuff that's going on in the country. Not just in our local communities, but nationwide with someone like Obama, like Eric Holder, like Nancy Pelosi, and Reid, and I can go on. And everyone's saying they're angry, but what are they doing? They're leaving the fight to the few, to you, Miki, to you, Rudy, to you, Mike, to me. So I was just going to say, just stop bitching, get off your butt, and do something.
Amen, Annie. And just let me throw this thought out there as a sobering thought, if it hopefully will help motivate some of these folks who want to stay on that fence. And this is a sobering thought, because we all like to think, we've gotten acclimated to the fact that government is incompetent, and it's easy to fall into a trap that, this Obamacare and NSA spying and Benghazi and all of the other scandals that are going on, they're just a bunch of incompetent buffoons. Look, if you actually look into the history and the background of what Obama taught when he was at Harvard, and some of the things that have been associated with Hillary Clinton, there's what's called the Cloward and Piven strategy. There's Rules for Radical by Saul Alinsky. These people they are orchestrating crisis on purpose to specifically bring down our system. It's a very, very sobering thought to think that it's not just a matter of being incompetent or a matter of them being greedy, but that they're actually performing activities on purpose to specifically bring down the system. And what that means, in the simplest way I can say it, guys, and if this doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will, but we are at war. We are at war with a group of people that want to destroy life as we know it. They want to bring about their tyrannical, socialist, communist agenda and destroy America as we know it. And it's not just a bunch of buffoons with a bunch of incompetent, plans that have happened over and over again. These guys are implementing an orchestrated crisis from Cloward and Piven textbook with the rules for radicals as their agenda to engage us. And we're at war, right? And it's like, I would like to, go down to the Dairy Queen and have an ice cream and walk around the park. I would love to do that. I'm an easygoing guy normally. I want to go back and work on my car. I got a carburetor that needs to be fixed. I got a gas tank that, has a problem with the cap, and I got some stuff I need to do. But the bottom line is, when I wake up in the morning and my eyes pop open, it's like, oh yeah, I'm back in a world where there's people trying to destroy the country that I grew up in. And it's like, I don't know why people don't get excited about that. If that don't excite them, I don't know what will. These people are absolutely trying to destroy this country, not by incompetence, but on purpose. These people are doing it on purpose.
No, I agree, and they're starting in our schools. They're in our communities. They're in our county councils or city councils. They are here among us. They have infiltrated us, and all of a sudden, when you say something that may seem to be politically incorrect, you end up being vilified. Instead of turning around and saying, wait a minute, no, look at this as an American issue, not this little political mamby-pamby. If I say that Islamic terrorists are destroying us, what is wrong with that? It's just a simple fact. It wasn't Christians that flew the planes into the Twin Towers. It was Islamic terrorists. Be honest about it. The incident in Fort Hood was a terrorist act. It was not a workplace violence. Call it what it is and be honest about it. Stop pussyfooting around the issues.
I once knew an Islamic friend at work, and, they say, well, it's a religion of peace. You'll often hear that. Islam is the religion of peace. What they really mean is Islam is the religion of peace once they've conquered all the infidels and they put Islam everywhere. That's what they really mean.
Yeah.
That is the truth. Go ahead, Nikki.
I've already lost my train of thought, but I so enjoy listening to all you guys. I'm learning a lot from you too. So, but what you're saying about, and I go through it all the time. I talk about it. I meet somebody new, and I can't help. Something will come up, and I'll talk about what I'm doing, and about Obama and the forged birth certificate and stuff, and or anything political, and you see their eyes kind of roll up back in their head, and you realize that they're not listening to you and they don't really care. But what's going to happen is these people, when they start hurting, they have to get hurt first. They have to feel the pain, and all of a sudden they'll open up their eyes and say, well, wait a minute, I didn't buy into this. Maybe then they'll get up off their duff and do something, at least open up their mouths and speak out. But they need to be hurt, and the hurt's coming.
Yeah, and that's the truth. And when they turn around, they say to us, oh, you're fighting Obamacare because you're a racist. And I says, no, I'm fighting Obamacare because you're going to find out that someday someone's going to knock on your door and say, well, I'm so-and-so, and according to Obamacare, I am going to go through your cabinets, I'm going to go through your refrigerator, and if there's food in there that I don't like, you're going to be in trouble. I'm going to see how you are raising your child. If I don't agree in what you're teaching that child or what you're allowing that child to eat or read is not what I feel is appropriate, I'm taking your child away from you. And people say to me, that's not Obamacare. Yes, it is. I read the bill long before Nancy Pelosi said we've got to pass it before we know what's in it. And she said that because she already knew what was in it, and she knew that she was helping to destroy our nation and to destroy our society. And when you tell people this is what's going to happen to you, you're going to be paying more money. You're not going to have a doctor. Already the doctors, general practitioners, are closing down. My own general practitioner, he is opting out of Obamacare because he's going into a concierge service. So he's bypassing it. For that, I'm grateful. What I'm not grateful for is that my husband and I now have to pay $3,300 a year to have the luxury of being able to go to him. We can't afford that, but we found a way to scrape it together because I said, I don't agree with Obamacare. I don't want to participate in it, and I've been given the opportunity to get around it. But it doesn't stop me from fighting for someone else because I know what's going to be happening. I know the hurt they're going to be putting on people. And I turn around to them and I says, listen, if you have certain skills that are going to be running low, say, for example, you're an X-ray technician or a therapist or something like that, and under Obamacare, even if you're a ditch digger, if they feel they need you to work for the government to fill a vacancy, they can take you force you into that job and not pay you a penny. That's in Obamacare. You will become slave labor. I thought we were slave labor, but it's in Obamacare. And people turn around and say, that's not going to happen. Well, folks, it's happening now. It is happening now. Miki and Rudy, we've got a caller in on the line. He's a fellow BTR host, Thomas. Good afternoon, Thomas. Would you like to join the conversation?
Well, I'm just listening, and I missed the first part of the show because I actually couldn't get through. And so, but I just wanted to tell you I agree with you. And Mika, I only read a little bit about what you do, but keep up the fight and know that there are those of us who are out there who got your back, and he got your back, and we're taking this nation back. And Annie, one last thing that I want to say: if you look at everything that is happening to this administration, all the scandals that's coming out, how it seems that everything is crumbling, I can honestly say, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I can honestly say I believe it's a direct result of prayers that have been prayed for this nation. So we got to keep up the fight because, folks, slowly but surely, we are winning, and we are going to take this nation back. So, Annie, I'll just listen on mute from now. So,
thank you, Thomas. Yeah,
that was the best transmission we've had from Thomas in months. Because normally, Thomas, when you're on, there's nothing but static or echoes.
But what Thomas said, Rudy, goes directly back to what you and Miki are saying, that, we have to follow the Constitution and our Bible.
Amen.
Prayer is a big portion, and I do believe a lot of this stuff is coming to light, and people are getting angry. And even in my own church, I see more and more people coming in. For the longest time, we would see congregations start to go down. But I think as this nation wakes up, more people will be returning to church and prayer.
Amen. I truly believe what Thomas said is right on the money, and just to add to it, we've got to return back to the Bible. We've got to return back to God. We cannot kick God out of our society. The more we try to kick God out of our society, the more like Sodom and Gomorrah we're going to become. And you can go preach freedom and constitutionalism to Sodom and Gomorrah all you want, but it ain't going to do no good if Sodom and Gomorrah don't get back to God. And so I agree with what Thomas said, and prayer is a very, very powerful weapon, and reading that Bible is just as powerful as well. And so we have some weapons in our arsenal to fight this, and thank God for what Thomas said. I agree with it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and it's another way of watching the assault on our society, because Miki, you were not someone that was ever really politically active. It was only until I believe you wrote in your book around 2008 that you finally woke up. But if you look at the attacks that we have on those of us in society, not just, Rudy being, invaded by the G-men, but you have someone as simple as, saying prayer being prosecuted. You have someone that turns around and says, well, I'm a wedding photographer, but I happen to not believe in gay marriage, so I choose not to take pictures, sell my services to a gay couple, and they're being brought to court and prosecuted. You had a church in New Jersey that refused to allow a gay marriage to be performed on property they owned because they said, we do not believe in gay marriage. We believe it's against, the rules that God gave us. And they were prosecuted, and they were told by the judge, you must allow this ceremony to be performed on your property. They have been assaulting us every single which way, by violating our privacy through the NSA, by harassing us through the IRS, by having even ICE turn around and check to see whether or not Rudy is actually an American citizen. And listening to your dialect, your Texas dialect, I can say, you were born in the state of Texas.
I got my long form and my short form, and I didn't have to Adobe paste it together from different pieces of the internet. I got it from Baylor Hospital in Dallas, Texas, and I made a joke about that to my HR department. I said, "Can I just paste it together from different parts like our president did?" So you're right. I absolutely was born in Baylor Hospital in Dallas, Texas, and I got a valid birth certificate to prove it.
Oh,
know what you're describing, how everything is just totally upside down and inside out, and we have to win. We have to undo all of the damage that this regime has done. And when you were talking and when you said Sodom and Gomorrah, it flashed in my mind that Sodom and Gomorrah, I saw it. I saw it because I was there, and I want to tell you about that. It was during the getting right up to the signing of that healthcare scam, or Obamacare, I call it. There was a Code Red rally that was called, for people to come to D.C. and make a last attempt to keep that thing, to kill the bill. And I went, put together a few people from Tulsa, and we all went together, drove there basically nonstop, and got there, and we were there for the rally that day, and then shortly after the rally was over, there were big crowds all around the Capitol building, and I was kind of near the barricades, and it was Virginia Fox from North Carolina came up and asked how far away people had come, and I said I came from Oklahoma, drove nonstop. And then she said, would you like to go inside and watch from the gallery? And I said, yes. And I said, I'm with a group of people. There were about 6 of us. And she said, see if you can get them together, and I'll bring you all in as a group. Well, I couldn't find them. They had moved from where they were, and I couldn't find them. And so I didn't want her, Virginia Fox, waiting. So I got back to the barricade, and I said that I don't know where they are. So there was a family of 4 or so, and she says, well, let's take you all in. So she sponsored me in there, go through the metal detectors and all that. They take your cell phone away, check your bags, all that kind of stuff. And I got into the galley, and she told me the rules, don't say anything, don't lean over the railings, don't applaud or do any of that. And you could see the thugs, standing around there, security. But it became very evident, whose side they were on, as far as left and right, because when people applauded something that, a Republican had said, when they applauded, he was right on them like a duck on a June bug, and got them to shut up. But what was happening down below in this Sodom and Gomorrah, all of the, it was split half-half. The Republicans were on one side, very orderly, and were up to the podium speaking and respectful of everything. And then on the other side, the Democrats, it was like something out of Hades that was going on down below me. And it was the Black Caucus standing together, talking as loud as they possibly could. There was Anthony Weiner came in, glad-handing everybody, stepping over the rows of chairs and going over, and hey, how's it, and talking as loud as he can. But what really chilled me to the bones was there were a couple of young boys, I would say about 15 or 16 years old, and they were dressed in suits that didn't fit, very seedy looking, very cheap outfits. And there was a man that had sponsored them in there who had his arm around him, this guy. He looked gay to me. And then when Barney Franks came up and was talking to him, reaching up, and this guy was leaning over the railing, something I was told not to do, and they were sitting right in front of me. I was just one row back, and when I saw him talking to Barney Franks, and he's like introducing these boys, and they're talking back and forth, and here comes Nancy Pelosi, and she's looking up there and talking to this guy in front of me and stuff, and it just chilled me to the bone, because I realized that, Barney Franks is, a sexual deviant, and these young boys have no business being in the company of these kind of men. And it just chilled me to the bone when I saw that, because I thought, these 2 boys, young chickens being introduced to a well-known homosexual. It was, I wrote that in my book because I thought this has to be told. But it was Jackson, the one that he was the secretary of this particular hearing, and or the vote taking and session. I guess I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but on the Democrat side, like I said, people were just in groups and laughing and talking and all of that. And it was Jackson, the one that was scandalously used campaign money, and now is no longer in the Congress. He was the person presiding over it, and the Republicans had to stop talking because nobody could hear them with all of the cacophony of sounds going on the other side. So he had to bang his gavel to tell them to be quiet. So they would get low for a little while, and then the voices would come back up again. And I was just looking at all of this, thinking, this can't be real. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. Those people are just evil. So I saw it, firsthand, and I can attest to the fact that that is Sodom and Gomorrah, and we are going to just get rid of them because our prayers are working, and I can see things are happening, and they're losing now, and that is not going to be the same. Come 2014, when we get more constitutionalists and Christians and military into the House of Representatives, it's going to change, and there's going to be prayer, and we are going to win this, and I'm confident of that. But I had to share that with you all because I saw it and can testify to it.
Yeah. Now, are you still heavily working with Go?
No, that didn't work. That didn't work well, and I'm still very good friends with Tim Cox. I haven't heard from him in a while, but.
Yeah, because I remember when he first started Go, and his wife's a little pistol. She's really cute. But I ended up, because there's so many groups out there, you get, easily distracted sometimes. And when you were writing about it in the book, I haven't got, like I said, I'm only about halfway, and I was saying, well, let me take a look at the site again, and I haven't had a chance to look at it. So I was just curious whether or not that was an avenue we could be looking at for next year. But we also have to work heavily on the Senate, and we've got right now 4 people right now that are running against Lindsey Graham here. The latest was Bill Connor, who just entered the race. Matter of fact, Cool Mike will remember we've had Bill on here a couple of times as a guest. This is long before he put his hat in the ring for this. Now, he just announced this past week he's up running against Graham, and he may have a good chance. Between him and Lee Bryant, it would be a really interesting runoff. But we're going to start doing it, the Senate and the House, and we're going to start with 2014 and then go into 2016, and we're going to start taking our nation back, one election at a time. But we're down to our last 6 minutes here, Rudy and Miki. I'm going to let Rudy first make a closing statement, then Miki, and then, gosh, this time just went so fast. So, Rudy?
It did.
No, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the show that you guys are doing and having me on. And I'm a big fan of Miki. I love her to death, and Fred, and I appreciate what she has done in this fight to expose the truth about the ineligibility of Obama. I'll just say quickly that God does not need a majority, right? And he absolutely does not need a majority. And there are things happening. There is a battle going on between good and evil that it's things happening in the spiritual realm. And I don't mean to get too religious with you guys, but I'm just saying that at some point we're going to have to know our Bible, trust in the Lord, and do the right thing, no matter how unpopular it makes us, and no matter what the consequences may come. Because ultimately we're going to have more trust in the Lord than we do, and we're going to have to work to please the Lord than we do to please men. It's like I'm not here to be popular. I'm not here to please anybody. I just want to do what's right. I want to say the truth. And I want to make a case before the Lord to please don't let our country fall into tyranny. Use me and use Miki, use Annie and use Mike. Use different portions of the body of Christ to restore this country to righteousness. And if we get back to God and get back to this Bible, we don't need a majority. God can do anything, and I truly believe that. And I thank God that you guys are doing what you're doing, and I'm grateful to be on the show today.
Amen to that. Miki?
Yes, amen to that, Rudy. And thank God for you. God bless you. And Aaron. And I just want to say thank you, Annie and Mike and Thomas, who's listening, for allowing me to be on the show. I told Annie before that the first time I was on the show, this is the second time, but the first time I was on the show, afterward I told Annie that this was the nicest, easiest interview that I had ever had, and I've lost track of how many times I've been interviewed on radio, but this with Annie, she's a wonderful person, and I just love her to death, and I just thank you so much for allowing me to have this opportunity.
Oh, no, it's absolutely my pleasure, and I really enjoyed it. And Cool Mike and I always welcome you back anytime.
Yeah, just a quick comment for you two, and spread the word on this, is that there are some keys to a revolution in which we're taking place, and that is when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. This is our right, and this is our duty to throw off such government. And when you feel strong biblical that you don't worry about the shadow of death because the light is very bright, those become a lot more easier for you to take those steps forward than those who don't. And remember, they don't. They'll be running and hiding. We will not. Annie?
Oh, that is the absolute truth. Absolutely. We're down to our last 3 minutes, so I want to thank everyone here that participated in the show. We'll be back here on Tuesday, and we've got a new defender of the freedom, Ilya Katz, who's running